Hello, everybody, and thank you so much for being here and joining us today on Deborah Kobylt Live. Got a great show for you today. Calling in from New York City, Carole Montgomery. She is the creator of Funny Women of a Certain Age, and that show is going to be appearing on Showtime March 23rd in a couple days at 9 o'clock, and the feature highlight is Fran Drescher. Very exciting stuff. Carole, thanks for joining us.
Oh, thank you. This is thanks for having me.
This is very exciting.
I could have done it live, but I couldn't make it out. I couldn't stay in LA longer.
Next time when you're out here, how's that?
That would be perfect.
Yeah. Now I got to see your show over in Venice at Beyond Baroque, the Beyond Baroque Theater. You were fantastic. You and the entire collection of ladies. Now this is a group of people, right? Funny ladies, comedians that are over a certain age. Would that be what, 40?
50.
50. Okay.
50. Yeah, most of the women are 50. Some of the girls might be in their late 40s, but for the most part, the show was created for women over 50 years old. And when I did that, I had a list of about 100 women. And then because I have so many friends in the 40s, once I said, if we open it up to 40 and above, it added like 150 more women onto the roster.
Hey, maybe you could do it by the decade. Women of a certain age, 40s, 50s. I mean, get them in their 80s. You never know.
Oh, absolutely. There are absolutely women doing stand up in their 70s and 80s, which is awesome.
Well, they've lived enough life. All kinds of funny shit has gone on. So
True,
tell me,
absolutely.
Yeah, tell me a little bit about you, how you started out. Clearly, we can tell from your accent. You're from New York or Brooklyn, right?
Yeah, I'm from Brooklyn. I thought my accent was not as pronounced, but I think it's because I'm just tired, and because we've been doing a lot of promotion for the show, so I sound even more tired than I usually am. But yes, I grew up in Brooklyn, New York. I started years ago in a comedy club in Sheepshead Bay called Pips Comedy Club, which was where David Brenner and Joan Rivers started.
Wow!
And once I, that was 40 years ago, and then I haven't really looked back. Be honest though. To be honest, if I had known that I'm still doing, I've been doing stand-up for 40 years. Mm-hmm. Like I joke with people, I could have actually killed somebody and been out of jail already.
Okay, so I have to know. Let me back it up a little bit. So you're a young person and you're going over to Pips to do stand-up comedy. Did you tell your parents, like, hey, Mom and Dad, I'm going to Pips tonight. I want to be a comic. And were they totally on board with this?
No, not at all. My parents wanted me to go to college and, my dad was a teacher, so he was hoping one of his daughters would become teachers, and that didn't happen. They knew what a show business life was going to be like, so they wanted more from me. So they out of worry, they didn't want my life to be hard. But at some point, one of the sweetest things that happened is the first TV show I ever did. I was living in Los Angeles. I want to say I was 27, 28 years old, and I got to do a TV show called Comic Strip Live, which is on the Fox network. And when I called my dad, he actually said, he goes, now I understand what it feels like when a father sees his son hit a home run, his first major league home run. Aww. So after all those years, it was very sweet because after all those years, they finally understood that I was not stopping.
I kind of get that because my parents, when I was a kid, they were like, hey, Deborah, you should be a bookkeeper. I'm thinking, I don't want to be a bookkeeper. Yeah. And then I went into the news business and they didn't get that either until finally I said, turn me on 6 o'clock. This is in New York. I was pretty young. And there they go. All of a sudden, all the relatives in New Jersey, all the Italian relatives, like, oh my God, Debbie's on at 6 o'clock. And suddenly you made it. But the whole way there, they didn't get it. Right?
No. They never do. People who are not in the business really don't get it. They just see you, not making a lot of money and working very hard with no, returns. But sadly, both my parents have been gone for a long time, so they will not have seen that I finally did something really great. And the special is dedicated to the memory of my parents.
Oh, what are their names?
Paul and Natalie Friedman.
So Paul and Natalie, I love that. Talk a little bit about you growing up as a kid. You told me that you'd go up to the Catskills and you'd hear the the
Yes.
comedians up there, right?
Yeah, my dad was a public high school teacher in Brooklyn, New York, at Lafayette High School, and every summer, my dad was a real worker. He never stopped. I also, besides a high school teacher, he was also a bookie, but that's a whole other show.
Wait, he was a bookkeeper too?
He was a bookie. Yes, he was a bookie
bookie.
while he was a high school teacher.
Okay.
But he's dead now, so I can talk about it.
Okay.
Anyway, he every summer he would because teachers had the full summer off. He would work as a bartender up in the Catskill Mountains. So from the time I was a baby, we would go up there. We would either stay at the hotel or stay in a bungalow colony. And so at a very early age, I would hang out with my dad while he was setting up the bar for the evening in the afternoon, and in would walk Rodney Dangerfield,
Oh, wow.
doing a mic check, or Toady Fields. So years later, I said, this isn't my fault I became a comedian, Dad. It's your fault.
You never know what your kids are picking up, but wow, that must have been so exciting for you as a little kid. Did you then practice jokes, or you just sort of knew then, or you got the bug, I guess, as a kid?
You know what? I don't. I think it was ingrained in me because I always had that that attitude, that sassy, sarcastic stuff. But it didn't really. It didn't even dawn on me that the whole Catskill thing until I was doing stand up, and I was like, wait a minute. I used to watch all these guys of course I was going to be a comic. I feel it's one of the few places that I feel comfortable in is in a bar. It's it's because I've been there my entire life.
Hey, Mrs. Mazal must have a real, when you watch that show, you must think, yeah, I get that. Because, right, they would vacation in the Catskills, although she was already a comic. But do you feel a real affiliation with her?
Well, what was great about that one, I love, it's very funny when you talk to female comics about Mazal. Everyone has their own opinion. So about her, I love the show because I love the writing that Amy Sherman Palladino. I mean, I've loved her writing since the Gilmore Girls. Mm-hmm. It's not a really true
portrayal
visual of what it really is. Yeah, a portrayal of what a female comic is, because the thing I always say is, I love that she dresses so beautifully, but but where are her children? Her children. She has 2 children. Where are her? I schlepped my child all over the country by myself, and it took him to bars and all these horror. That to me is the part where I'm like, all right, I understand you're a rich woman, but come on, where are the kids? That's the only problem I really have with it.
Maybe that's part of the comedy of the show. The kids are just sort of raised by either mom and dad, the nanny, and she's just off, you're right, in her pearls, doing her thing. So female comics, when you were coming up, there weren't a lot of them, right?
Correct.
Did that discourage you, or you were like, too bad, I'm getting out there, I'm a funny person?
Well, here's what's interesting about that. I look back at, I'm a very determined human being.
No.
So I never actually looked at I say this actually, in the special, when I just started doing stand up because I wanted to do comedy, I never thought I was a woman until I became a comedian, because now I was the woman comedian. I was the only woman in the room, but I just wanted to be funny. I grew up watching Lucy. And right. Lucy, nobody ever asked Lucy if they thought women were funny. Do you know what I mean? So it's so weird for me, that it never even dawned on me that I was a girl while I was doing that. I mean, now that there's more women, it's great.
Right. And who did you look up to when you were a kid? Who did you love watching as a comic?
As a comic, obviously, we used to have, we would have dinners. My dad would come home from school, and we'd have an early, Lucy, I Love Lucy was running usually, I'm assuming it was probably about 6 o'clock on the New York stations, Channel 5 or Channel 11. And we would watch Lucy while we were eating. My dad was a very funny man and very loud and boisterous, so he turned me on to the Bowery Boys and Abbott and Costello and the Marx Brothers. When I became, the first person I saw that was a real comedian was when I saw Freddie Prinze on The Tonight Show. And I was like, what's this?
Wait, who did you see?
Wow,
I didn't hear you. Who'd you see?
Freddie Prinze.
Oh, okay. Oh, right.
Yeah. And so I knew that there was something that there was something bubbling about stand-up comedy then, but I didn't really know what it was, because it's not like it is now where everybody's a comedian. So my heroes, like Lily Tomlin, of course, Richard Pryor, George Carlin. These are the people I look up to. Lily is one of my heroes, of course.
Have you ever worked with her?
No, I have not. It's on my bucket list.
Shout out to Lily Tomlin. I'm sure you can get her in one of your shows, especially after this upcoming Showtime. Go ahead.
Yeah, it would be great. I would love to. I would absolutely love to have her on a show, because she was doing it. It's so funny when you ask me, because I started in the late 70s, early 80s, so there were maybe a dozen women. But when Lily was doing it, it was basically her and Joan, and Phyllis, I think, was already well known. Rusty Warren. I mean, there were no women then. I would love to have her.
You know what kind of bugged me? Women generally, if you think about Joan Rivers, you think about Phyllis Diller. They got a lot of their laughs by talking about their looks, which I thought was kind of degrading, and that always bothered me as a really little girl. And I would hear them, and I would think, you don't need to do that. Like, it would kind of bother me. And sometimes, in my opinion, I do some stand-up comedy myself. So no matter where it is, if it's at the Comedy Store, Flappers, wherever I am, I notice a lot of women will either tell really gross, dirty jokes, which that's not my thing. I personally don't like that. Or they talk about their private parts very explicitly. And I'm thinking, lady, I have those. I do that. But I don't need to hear about what you're doing. Do you know what I'm saying? What are your thoughts on
absolutely.
Constant sex jokes? Like, I don't even want to say it. Like, I don't even like to say those things publicly. And calling some guy out in the audience, that's almost like a cheap joke. What do you think?
Well, I'm a blue comic by trade, but the way what's going on in young comedy, especially young female comedy, is they want to hit everybody over the head and say, look how edgy I am.
Right.
Look what I'm doing. And it's, I and a couple of other women, Felicia Michaels is another one that when we were coming up in the business, we were considered the dirty girls, and now we're considered like milquetoast compared to what's out there. There's a way to do any kind of comedy, but it has to be funny. If you're just and this goes with men too, because men will say stuff like a lot of male comics, like there was a whole big thing about the rape culture. And every young male comic had to do a rape joke. And it was like, okay, you can do a rape joke. The rape joke's funny. I have no problem with it. But if you're just going to say the joke because you think you're going to get a response, that doesn't give me, that's not being funny. So I believe that if it's funny, in fact, when my son was very young, all the kids would come and stay at my house in Vegas. And the rule in the house was you could say the F word, but if you couldn't say it just to throw it away. You couldn't just say F you. It had to be in
context,
in a funny sort of way.
Right. It has to be in context. If you're going to use it, put some context to it.
Huh? My kid did it all. My kid is actually, when people met my son when he was really young, he still is this way. He's 27. They go, he can't be your son. He's so polite.
Well, I actually, you want my theory? Wait, do you want my theory on that? If you're a little nuts, your kid's going to go in the opposite direction. I have 3 very, very polite, very well-spoken boys, and people say the same thing. So I guess I did something right.
Right.
Do we have a clip of this upcoming? We have a clip. Do you mind of this upcoming Showtime show?
No, go ahead, please.
Yeah. All right. Hang on one second.
I'm not doing the birthdays anymore. When you consider a 50-year-old a younger man, what's to celebrate?
The difference between like young people sex and old people sex is that young people can go for hours, not old people. You do 10 minutes, you could die.
Every guy in Brooklyn looks like a Viking on a bicycle. When did looking like a biblical figure become a hot look?
Bravo. That's great. Although I have to disagree with that women of a certain age can't have sex for a long time. Sorry, don't buy that one. I think she is great. She's my all-time favorite. Ellen as well. But I loved watching The Nanny. And then when it came out in reruns, I couldn't get enough of it. My little kids would watch it with me. Her relationship with Mr. Sheffield was just so great.
Oh, yeah.
I can't get enough of her. I must meet her. I have to. So I'm letting you know.
She's one of the most kindest,
I believe it,
humble human beings. I mean, she's a huge star. And when I first met her, you know, my producer, we were, she came into the Bell House where we were taping, and, you know, and I met her and I said, thank you so much for doing the show. And I just looked at her and I said, I know I'm being a fan here, but do you mind if I hug you? And she was like, of course. And she gave me the biggest hug. I just wanted to stay there forever.
Of
like,
course.
I was just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
She could not have been greater. And she is so funny on the show. I can't even tell you. And the audience goes crazy for her.
And she looks
They go
pretty.
absolutely nuts.
She looks pretty amazing, too. I mean, I don't even like saying that. Oh, you look great. I think everybody looks great. There's people that are much older now. I don't know. You've got Christy Brinkley in her 60s. I mean, I don't even know how that happened. But she looks incredible.
Right.
You've got, Sharon Stone. I just don't think people in their older years are looking the same as maybe their parents or grandparents did. So.
Oh, absolutely. I agree with you.
Yeah, and I
we're
think
the generation that was told that we could do anything. So we're like, oh, I'm in my 60s. Oh, who cares? I'm going to keep doing this.
Yeah. I mean, I loved the show. I thought you were, hysterical. So bravo to you for doing this. Anything else you want to add? And, first of all, let's give a date of when you're going to be out here back in LA, where you're doing your shows in New York, and another shout out to the show on the 23rd, would you?
Oh, yes. So we're coming back to LA to do the main room at the Comedy Store April 10th. You can get tickets at thecomedystore.com. That features a couple of my LA rotating cast. Felicia Michaels, Kathy Ladman, Monica Piper, and Lunel from the special will also be on it. And she was, oh my God, she was so amazing.
Great.
Yeah, she was amazing on the special. And then we do a monthly residency in New York City at the Crane Theater on the Lower East Side. Mm-hmm. And we're talking to people right now about booking it in Atlantic City and Vegas. So you will get to see it somewhere. And of course, watch it on Showtime, March 23rd at 9 p.m.
23rd. Headliner is Fran Drescher and you and all the other women, funny women of a certain age. And I'm going to try and come out on April 10th, maybe with Maria Lapidus, who I know was your agent some time ago, and a friend of both of ours.
A long time ago.
Yeah.
Yes.
And a friend of both.
Yes, that would be great. I'd love to have you guys.
Wouldn't that be fun? Well, anyway, everybody, please, Funny Women of a Certain Age, Showtime, and I'm sure it's going to be repeated, after that many, many times. So congratulations to you. Much success to you. And thank you so much for coming on our show.
Yes, and thank you. And I'll see you when I get to L.A.
Can't wait. Absolutely can't wait.
Okay.
And say hi to Fran for me.
Okay, thanks for having me.
Okay, bye-bye.
I will.
And thank you, everybody, for being here for Deborah Kobylt Live. You can see us on YouTube and Facebook and hear us on Apple Podcasts and on the iHeartRadio app and honestly, just anywhere else that you get your podcasts. See you soon.